Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. I'm glad you could join me today. From time to time, I share something from my personal postcard collection. These little cards are more than paper. They are windows into the past. They tell us what people were proud of, what they wanted to show off, and what mattered to them in daily life. Today, we're looking at a postcard that highlights one of Utah's most important industries, mining. This card doesn't just show one place. It's a collage of several mines, each important in its own right. And in the middle is the portrait of a rugged old prospector who represents the men who spent their lives searching the mountains for treasure. This card tells a whole story about Utah's mineral wealth. And today, I'll share that story with you. This postcard was published by the Deseret Book Company of Salt Lake City. It was printed in Chicago by Kurt Teich, one of the largest postcard publishers in the United States. If you collect postcards, you've probably seen that name before. Kurt Teich printed millions of cards, especially in the early to mid-1900s. His art color tone style gave postcards bright colors that stood out at the time. On the back, you can even see the familiar 1-cent stamp box, which tells us this card was made in the era when sending a postcard was still cheap and popular. On the front, you'll find pictures of 5 important Utah mines. These include the Alta United Mine at Alta, the City Consolidated Mine, the Horn Silver Mine at Milford, the Utah Copper Mine at Bingham, and the Chief Consolidated Mine at Eureka. And right at the center is George P. Watson, a prospector who spent 49 years chasing ore. His lined face and determined expression symbolize the thousands of men who came to Utah with hope and grit, trying to make their fortune underground. The back of the postcard gives a short history. It calls Utah a great storehouse of mineral wealth. It says more than $2 billion in non-ferrous metals had already been pulled from the ground since prospecting began in 1854. It also says Utah had more than 250 different minerals. The Bingham Canyon mine is singled out as the largest copper producer in the world. Coal and iron are mentioned too, showing that Utah's resources were diverse. Now let's take a closer look at each of the mines pictured on the postcard. Alta sits high in the Wasatch Mountains. Silver was discovered there in 1865, and the town of Alta sprang up almost overnight. At its peak, thousands of people lived and worked there. Alta was tough. Winters were harsh, avalanches common, and mining dangerous. But the silver that came out of the Alta mines made fortunes and helped fuel Utah's growth. Today, Alta is better known as a ski resort, but its mining past is still remembered. Park City became one of the most famous silver mining towns in Utah. Silver was first discovered there in the 1860s. And by the 1880s, the town was booming. The City Consolidated Mine was part of that success. Miners there pulled out millions of dollars in silver, lead, and zinc. Park City was a rough mining town with saloons and boarding houses, but it was also a place where families put down roots. Today, Park City is known for skiing and the Sundance Film Festival, but the wealth that built it all came from silver. The Horn Silver Mine was one of the richest silver strikes in the American West. Discovered in 1875 near Milford, it quickly became famous. At first, the ore was so rich that miners could dig it out with simple tools and send it straight to smelters without much processing. Investors flocked to the mine, and it produced millions in silver. But the mine also had a dramatic history. In 1885, part of it collapsed, swallowing equipment and cutting off much of the richest ore. Still, the Horn Silver was legendary, and its story is part of why this postcard celebrates it. The town of Eureka was the center of the Tintic mining district. The Chief Consolidated Mine was one of its biggest operations. Tintic was famous for its lead, silver, copper, and gold. Eureka grew into a lively town with theaters, schools, and businesses that served the miners. At its height, Eureka was one of the most important mining towns in Utah. The Chief Consolidated Mine was right at the heart of it. And then there's the Utah Copper Mine at Bingham Canyon. This mine became world famous. What started as small claims in the 1850s turned into the largest open-pit copper mine on Earth. By the early 1900s, giant steam shovels and railroads were moving ore out by the ton. The Postcard proudly calls it the world's largest producer. And it really was. Bingham Canyon set the standard for large-scale copper mining. Even today, the mine is still active, and its massive pit is visible from space. Mining shaped Utah in more ways than one. Economically, it brought billions of dollars into the state. It provided jobs for generations of workers. But culturally, it also left a mark. Miners came from Ireland, Wales, China, Italy, Greece, and many other countries. They brought their traditions, their foods, and their languages. Mining towns were melting pots where cultures mixed, often under hard conditions. Life was tough. Accidents were common, pay was uncertain, and strikes happened. But people endured, and communities grew. The prospector at the center of this postcard ties the whole story together. By the time the card was printed, mining was run by big companies with machinery and deep shafts. But the image of the lone prospector, searching the hills with nothing but hope, remained a powerful symbol. That's why his portrait takes center stage. He represents the human spirit behind Utah's mineral wealth. For me, as a collector, this postcard is more than just a pretty design. It's a piece of history. It shows us how Utah wanted to be seen, rich, proud, and built on mining. And it reminds us of the miners themselves, the towns they built, and the industries that shaped the state. And if you have any old postcards laying around your house, I'd love to see them. You can send them my way. Just go to the contact link on ancestralfindings.com and let me know. I'll be glad to share my address with you. Who knows? Maybe one of your postcards will end up in a future episode of the Ancestral Findings podcast. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening. And as always, happy searching.